Today, we're going to explore a profound piece of ancient wisdom that has the power to fundamentally change how we experience life, how we navigate challenges, and ultimately, how we find peace amidst the inevitable ups and downs. It's a teaching that, once understood, can unlock a deeper sense of calm and resilience within you. We're diving into the concept of the two arrows, a powerful metaphor attributed to the Buddha, which reveals why we often suffer far more than we need to, and how we can choose a different path. Life, as we all know, is a tapestry woven with moments of joy, beauty, connection, and profound love. But it also contains threads of pain, loss, disappointment, and discomfort. No one is immune to these experiences. From the smallest inconvenience to the most heartbreaking tragedy, pain is an inherent part of the human condition. This is where the wisdom of the two arrows begins. Imagine you're walking through life, and suddenly, an arrow strikes you. This first arrow represents the unavoidable pain, the initial misfortune, the physical discomfort, or the emotional sting that life delivers. It could be a sudden illness, a financial setback, a relationship ending, a critical comment from someone, a flat tire, or even just stubbing your toe. This first arrow is the event itself, the raw, unvarnished reality of what has happened. It's the physical sensation of pain, the initial shock of loss, the immediate feeling of sadness or frustration. This first arrow is not something we can control. It happens to us. It's an intrinsic part of existence, a universal experience that binds us all. To be alive is to be susceptible to the first arrow. Think about it. If you get a paper cut, the physical sensation of the cut, the immediate sting, that's the first arrow. If you receive bad news, the initial jolt of disappointment or sadness, that's the first arrow. If someone you care about passes away, the profound grief and sorrow that washes over you, that's the first arrow. These are natural, often involuntary responses to difficult situations. They are the pure, unadulterated pain of life. And crucially, the Buddha taught that this first arrow is unavoidable. We cannot escape it. To try to escape it is to try to escape life itself. However, the story doesn't end there. The Buddha observed that for many of us, after the first arrow strikes, we often shoot ourselves with a second arrow. This second arrow is not the initial pain, but the suffering we add to that pain through our reactions, our thoughts, our resistance, our worry, our anger, our self-criticism, and our attachments. It's the mental and emotional anguish we create around the initial event. While the first arrow is unavoidable, the second arrow is, to a significant degree, optional. Let's go back to the paper cut example. The first arrow is the sting. The second arrow is the thought, "Oh, I'm so clumsy. Why do I always do this? This is going to hurt all day. I can't believe I was so careless." Or, if you receive bad news, the first arrow is the initial sadness. The second arrow is the endless rumination, the what-ifs, the catastrophizing, the anger at the situation, the self-blame, or the fear of what might happen next. When someone you care about passes away, the first arrow is the grief. The second arrow might be the guilt, the regret, the "if only I had done this or said that," the resistance to the reality of their absence, or the anger at the unfairness of it all. This second arrow is where we often get stuck. It's the story we tell ourselves about the pain, rather than just experiencing the pain itself. It's the judgment, the resistance, the fear, the anger, the self-pity, the resentment, the worry, the rumination, the denial, and the attachment to how things should be. This is the suffering we create for ourselves, often unconsciously, in response to the first arrow. Think about the sheer volume of mental energy we expend on this second arrow. We replay past events, dissecting every detail, wishing they had gone differently. We project into the future, imagining worst-case scenarios, fueling anxiety and dread. We judge ourselves harshly for our perceived failures or shortcomings. We get angry at others, at circumstances, or even at life itself for not conforming to our expectations. All of this is the second arrow in action. It's the mind's tendency to add layers of distress to an already difficult situation. Let's explore some common manifestations of this second arrow. Resistance and denial. When the first arrow strikes, our immediate impulse can be to resist it, to deny its reality, or to wish it away. This shouldn't be happening. I don't deserve this. This resistance creates tension, a struggle against what is. It's like being caught in a rip current and trying to swim against it with all your might, only to exhaust yourself. Acceptance, on the other hand, doesn't mean liking the situation, but acknowledging its reality, which allows us to then respond more wisely. Rumination and worry. This is a classic second arrow. After a difficult event, we might find ourselves replaying it endlessly in our minds, analyzing every detail, searching for blame, or imagining alternative outcomes. Similarly, worry is the second arrow of anticipating future pain. We project our fears onto what might happen, suffering in advance for things that may never come to pass, or for things we have no control over. This mental loop keeps us trapped in a cycle of distress long after the initial event has passed. Attachment. We often become deeply attached to outcomes, to people, to possessions, to our ideas of how life should unfold. When the first arrow disrupts these attachments, a job loss, a relationship change, a health issue, the suffering of the second arrow arises from our clinging. We suffer not just from the loss itself, but from our inability to let go of what was, or what we expected to be. The pain of change is amplified by our resistance to it. Anger and resentment. When the first arrow feels unfair or unjust, it's natural to feel anger. But when that anger festers into resentment, when we hold on to it, blame others endlessly, or allow it to consume us, it becomes a potent second arrow. This sustained anger doesn't hurt the person or situation we're angry at. It primarily hurts us, poisoning our own peace of mind. Self-criticism and self-pity. Sometimes, the second arrow is directed inward. After a setback, we might berate ourselves, calling ourselves failures, stupid, or unworthy. This self-inflicted judgment adds immense suffering to an already painful situation. Similarly, self-pity, while understandable in moments of distress, can become a second arrow when it prevents us from taking wise action or finding resilience. It keeps us stuck in a victim mentality, amplifying our sense of helplessness. The profound insight of the Buddha. The secret to ending suffering lies in recognizing this distinction. The first arrow is inevitable. The second arrow is largely a choice. It's not a choice to not feel the pain of the first arrow. That's impossible and unhealthy. It's a choice in how we respond to that pain. It's the choice to not add layers of unnecessary suffering on top of what life has already presented. So, how do we avoid shooting ourselves with that second arrow? It's not about becoming emotionless or indifferent. It's about cultivating a different relationship with our experiences, particularly the difficult ones. It's about developing wisdom and compassion. Here are some practical strategies to help you navigate the first arrow without succumbing to the second. 1. Cultivate mindfulness and awareness. This is the cornerstone. The first step to avoiding the second arrow is to notice it. When the first arrow strikes, pause, take a breath, become aware of the initial sensation, the raw emotion. Then, observe your mind. Are thoughts of blame, worry, anger, or self-pity starting to arise? Are you resisting what has happened? Simply noticing these mental and emotional reactions without judgment is incredibly powerful. It creates a space between the initial pain and your reaction, giving you the opportunity to choose. Mindfulness allows you to see the second arrow forming before it takes flight. 2. Practice acceptance, not approval. Acceptance doesn't mean you like or condone what happened. It means acknowledging the reality of the situation as it is, right now. This is happening. I feel this pain. This loss is real. It's a radical act of surrender to the present moment, even if the present moment is uncomfortable. When you stop fighting reality, you release a tremendous amount of tension and energy that was previously fueling the second arrow. Acceptance is not resignation. It's a wise recognition of what is, which then frees you to respond constructively. 3. Lean into non-attachment. This doesn't mean not caring about anything. It means holding things lightly. It means understanding that everything is impermanent. People, possessions, situations, even our own bodies and minds. When we cling tightly to things, their inevitable change or loss brings immense suffering. When we practice non-attachment, we can still appreciate and love, but we do so with an awareness of impermanence, which softens the blow when things inevitably shift. It's about finding freedom from the need for things to be a certain way. 4. Cultivate self-compassion. When the first arrow hits, our instinct can be to be harsh with ourselves, to blame, to judge. Instead, offer yourself the same kindness and understanding you would offer a dear friend. Acknowledge that pain is a part of life and that you are doing your best. Speak to yourself with gentleness. This doesn't mean wallowing in self-pity. It means acknowledging your suffering with warmth and care, which helps to soothe the pain rather than amplify it. Self-compassion is a powerful antidote to the second arrow of self-criticism. 5. Shift your perspective. Sometimes the second arrow is fueled by a narrow or rigid perspective. Can you reframe the situation? Is there a lesson to be learned? Is there an opportunity for growth, even amidst the pain? This isn't about toxic positivity, but about finding a broader context. A setback might open a new door. A loss might deepen your appreciation for what remains. This shift in perspective can transform the nature of your suffering. 6. Practice emotional regulation. While we don't want to suppress emotions, we also don't want to be overwhelmed by them. Learning healthy ways to process difficult emotions through journaling, talking to a trusted friend, engaging in physical activity, or practicing meditation can prevent them from becoming a second arrow. It's about feeling your feelings without letting them define or consume you. It's about acknowledging the wave without drowning in it. 7. Focus on what you can control. The first arrow often involves things outside our control. The second arrow, however, is almost entirely within our sphere of influence. By consciously directing our energy towards what we can control, our reactions, our thoughts, our actions, in the present moment, we disarm the second arrow. We can't control the rain, but we can choose to carry an umbrella or dance in the puddles. Let's consider some real-life scenarios to illustrate this. Scenario 1. Losing a job. First arrow, the initial shock, disappointment, fear, and financial stress of losing your income and routine. This is real pain. Second arrow, I'm a failure. I'll never find another job. This is the end of my career. My life is ruined. Why me? It's so unfair. This rumination, self-blame, and catastrophizing adds immense suffering on top of the initial pain. Avoiding the second arrow. Acknowledge the pain and fear. This is hard. I'm scared. Allow yourself to feel it. Then, consciously shift. Okay, this happened. What are my next steps? What can I learn from this? What opportunities might this open up? Focus on action, not endless worry. Scenario 2. A minor car accident. First arrow. The jolt, the damage to the car, the inconvenience, the immediate frustration. Second arrow. I can't believe this happened. My day is ruined. This is going to cost so much money. That other driver is an idiot. Why am I always so unlucky? The anger, the blame, the self-pity, the dwelling on the ruined day. Avoiding the second arrow. Take a deep breath. Assess the situation calmly. Okay, the car is damaged. Everyone is safe. This is an inconvenience, but it's manageable. Focus on the practical steps. Exchanging information, calling insurance, arranging repairs. Let go of the need to assign blame or dwell on the unfairness. Scenario 3. A disagreement with a loved one. First arrow. The hurt feelings, the tension, the sadness of conflict. Second arrow. They always do this. They don't care about my feelings. I can't believe they said that. I'm going to hold a grudge. This relationship is doomed. The resentment, the rumination, the projection of past hurts onto the present, the catastrophizing about the relationship's future. Avoiding the second arrow. Acknowledge your hurt. I feel sad, angry about what was said. Then, choose to communicate constructively. Can we talk about this calmly? I want to understand your perspective. Focus on resolution and connection, rather than escalating the conflict with additional negative thoughts. The transformative power of understanding the two arrows is immense. It doesn't mean you'll never feel pain again. That's an unrealistic expectation. But it does mean that you can significantly reduce the amount of suffering you experience. You can learn to navigate life's inevitable challenges with greater grace, resilience, and inner peace. You can become an active participant in your own well-being, rather than a passive victim of circumstances and your own reactive mind. This wisdom isn't about being stoic or emotionless. It's about being wise with your emotions. It's about recognizing that while you can't always control what happens to you, you almost always have a choice in how you respond. It's about understanding that much of our suffering comes not from the events themselves, but from our interpretation of and resistance to those events. It's important to address a few common misconceptions about this teaching. Some might think, does this mean I shouldn't feel pain? Should I just ignore my feelings? Absolutely not. The first arrow is real, and the pain it brings is valid. Suppressing emotions is unhealthy and ultimately leads to more suffering. The goal is not to avoid feeling, but to feel without adding the extra layers of mental anguish. It's about experiencing the raw emotion, acknowledging it, and then letting it move through you, rather than holding onto it and letting it fester. Another misconception might be, is this about being passive or not taking action? Again, no. Understanding the two arrows empowers you to take wise action. When you're not caught in the grip of the second arrow, the anger, the fear, the rumination, you can think more clearly, assess the situation more accurately, and respond more effectively. It allows you to act from a place of clarity and intention rather than reaction and distress. Finally, some might ask, is this easy? The answer is a resounding no. This is a practice, a lifelong journey. Our minds are conditioned to shoot that second arrow, to worry, to resist, to judge. It takes consistent awareness, patience, and compassion to retrain our minds. There will be times when you catch yourself mid-flight, about to shoot that second arrow, and you'll be able to stop. Other times, you'll realize you've already shot it, and you'll have the opportunity to gently pull it out and learn for next time. The progress isn't linear, but every moment of awareness is a step towards greater freedom. So, as you go about your day, I invite you to reflect on this powerful teaching. When you encounter a challenge, a disappointment, or a moment of discomfort, pause. Ask yourself, is this the first arrow, or am I adding a second one? Can you feel the initial pain without immediately layering on judgment, worry, or resistance? Can you acknowledge what is, and then choose a response that brings you closer to peace rather than deeper into suffering? This ancient wisdom offers us a profound path to liberation, not from pain itself, but from the unnecessary suffering we so often inflict upon ourselves. By understanding the two arrows, we gain the power to choose how we experience life, transforming our relationship with pain and cultivating a deeper, more resilient sense of well-being. Thank you for joining me on this exploration today. I truly hope this insight brings you a greater sense of peace and clarity in your own life. If you found this discussion helpful, please consider subscribing for more content like this, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Take care.